Bezos Hashem. Tonight's learning is Masechta Gittin Daf Vav. Okay, Daf Vav, and
Gittin.
Gittin Masechta Gittin. So we're discussing over here. With this Rabbi Yosser made a comment, and he said that he made a comment, and so einer was bringt der Get from Bovel, see Eretz Yisrael, darf nicht schauen bevor die Nächte von den Nächten. Wenn ich bringt von Bovel, nur von Bovel. Für Medina Siyam, ja, aber von Bovel darf nicht schauen.
Toen was de man gewerkt voor de Krieg. In 38.
Wow. So gedenkst ja.
Yeah.
So
the man, yes.
So this Rabbi Yosef, the Gemara asked the question, how do you know you could rely on him on halacha? How do you know you could rely on him on halacha? So the Gemara says that V'oid, this is where we're up to. V'oid, it's the second wide line of Daf Hey Amid Beis. V'oid. The Gemara wants to show you how Rav Yosef was such a big tzaddik that even the Eibishter held of his opinions. How Rav Yosef, who the askim more al yodei, the boss of the world, was agreeing to his pshat. The pshat that Rav Yosef said, the ksiv, the pasuk says, and on your own time you could look up the story of Pelegesh Begiva. But the story of Pelegesh Begiva led to a big civil war in the Yidden. And all the Shvatim fought against Shevet Binyamin and nearly wiped out Shevet Binyamin. But the pasuk, the story begins, Vatizna Olav Pilakshoy. The Pelegesh of this young man, this concubine, it wasn't his wife, did something terrible. And he threw the Pelegesh out of his house. And then he went to get her back from his father-in-law's house. What? So the Gemara asked, Rabbi Yosef Amar, so what did he did? What did she do wrong? So the Rabbi Yosef Amar, Rabbi Yosef says that Rabbi Yosef Amar's Viv Matzala. He found a fly in her soup, let's say. In the food, he found this fly. Rabbi Yonasan Amar, Rabbi Yonasan says, Nima Matzala. He found a hair. So we're going to see what that means. But he found a hair. So was it a fly or was it a hair that got the husband angry? And Rav Yosar found Eliyahu Hanavi. And Amalei, so Rav Yosef said to Eliyahu, "My ka'ovid HaKadosh Baruch Hu." What is HaKadosh Baruch Hu doing at this moment? Amalei, Osek B'Pilegesh Begiva. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is learning Sefer Shoftim. And he's dealing with this story of Pilegesh Begiva, or my kama. And the question is, what's Hakadosh Baruch Hu talking? The Rabban Shalom zogt as manzin of Yosef zogt azoi. That means Hashem is saying, Rabbi Yosef is saying this way. Yonasan b'ni kachoyme. Yonasan, my son, is saying that this is what happened. So the Gemara says, so Rabbi Yosef asked Eliyahu Navi, what do you mean? Hashem doesn't know what happened? I mean, why is Hashem saying, I'm not sure. Is it a fly or a hair? So Eliyahu Navi told Rabbi Yosef, what you said and what Rabbi Yonasan said are divrei elikim chayim. They're all correct. Zviv matzav lehikbed. The husband found a fly and he wasn't so upset about it. Nima matzah, but when he found it here, the hikbet, then he got angry. So you're right, he found a fly. Amar Rabbi Yehuda explained, Zavil Bakara, he found a fly in the plate of the supper, he found a fly. The Nima, when did he find the hair? Ba'oisa makim, a fascinating thing. Rashi explains that the women used to shave ba'oisa makim. In the makim erva, they didn't want to have any hair, because their hair was so sharp that during Bia, it could actually puncture the testicles of a man. That's how sharp their hair was. He found one hair by her. So therefore, that got him so upset. The fact that he found a fly in his soup, that was only repulsive. Venima, but when he found a hair on her body, Sakanta, this was dangerous for him because it could have punctured his testicles. Ika de Amri, others say, Ida Bekara. The hair and the fly were found in the soup. Svuv, unser. A finding a fly in the soup is not your fault. Venima, but finding a hair, Pshiase, was her fault, and that's why it got him angry. So the Gemara now discusses this guy threw his wife out, his pilegish out of his house. Rav Chizda said, a person should not be, throwing too much fright, too much moira and pachad in his house. In his house, he should be a little bit more karma. Why? The story pilegish begiba, hito lea baile emiser. The husband was too frightful for her and too much pachad.
Bossy.
Too bossy. And because of that, if you learn the Tanakh, millions of people, tens of thousands of Klal Yisrael lost their lives because it led to a civil war. A person who's too bossy in his house, and everybody's scared of him, he's going to come. He thinks he's preventing Averas. He's going to come to do 3 of the biggest Averas. Gilei Arayos. He's going to do Gilei Arayos. Why? Because his wife is going to be a Nida. And he's going to ask her, did you go to the mikveh? And she's going to say, I did, but really she didn't. Maybe it was too cold in the mikveh or whatever. She's going to afraid to say the truth. Ushvichas damim. It could lead to murder. Why could it lead to murder? And you saw by the story of Pelegish V'Giva. The story of Pelegish V'Giva, because he threw his wife out of the house, it led to the civil war. The Chilul Shabbos, it could lead to Chilul Shabbos. A man asked his wife, is all the food ready? And it's not ready. And then she's gonna cook it on Shabbos. That's what could happen. Or because he's not going to know about. Pa'amin Rashi says she's going to light a candle or cook, but even after it's dark. Dr. Gemara, Omer Rabba Barachuna Hada Amri Rabbanim. Rabba Barachuna said that the rabbi said Shloisha Dvarim Tzarich Odom Loimer B'Soich Beiser Shabbos Im Chashecha. 3 things a person has to say in his house. Nobody else should hear, so he should speak softly. Isartem. Tell it to his wife, did you take off maestras? Iravtim, did you make the aruvei chatzeres? Hadlikis and air. It's time to light the Shabbos candles. These things that you have to say in your house, that's the husband's obligation. Tzarech, we go to Daf Yomi Gittin Daf. Tzarech lemeimra b'nichusa. You have to say it in a calm voice. Ki echa delikable minei. So that they'll accept it and follow your directions. If you start shouting orders, they're not going to listen to you. Rav Ashi said, I didn't hear what Rabbi Babachona said, that you have to say it in a calm voice, but I didn't need him to teach me this. My own logic taught me that when you're giving orders to somebody, you have to do it in a very calm, soft voice. Rabbi Bo said, a person should not be too excessive. He shouldn't put too much excessive fear in his house. There was this great gadol who put too much fear into his house. And what happened? And they wanted to give him to eat something that's so terrible, a big avera. They wanted him to do. They gave him food of a big avera. Money. Who is this person? Rab Chanina bar Gamliel. One time they shechted something, and they brought it to eat, and it was missing a leg from the food that they brought him. So what happened? The story goes that they went and they tore an eva menachai from another animal to take the place of the food that he was missing from his complete animal. And basically, Rab Chanina ben Gamliel came this close from eating eva menachai, which is a dava gadol, which is a big avera. Even a ben Noach has the avera of eating aver menachai. So the Gemara wants to ask a question. The Gemara said the story was not that he came close; he actually ate it. Hechilu sal kedaitach. Could he have actually eaten aver menachai? Rab Chanina ben Gamliel ate aver menachai. Pashto behemten shel tzadikim ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu mevi tekol al yodam. An animal of a tzaddik will not eat something, a davar iser. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu prevents the animals of tzaddikim from doing an avera. Tzaddikim atzma loy kol shkein. Certainly the tzaddik himself will not be able to have an avera in eating something that's aser. In other words, there's extra special divine protection that protects tzaddikim from doing the avera of macholos isuras. Sometimes a tzaddik could do an avera, but when it comes to macholos isuras, which is metamtim the leiv, which causes a total, a total misfiring of the mind and timtim alev. So there, HaKadosh Baruch Hu protects tzaddikim that they should not come to eat a davar aser. So how could you say over here that this Rab Chanina ben Gamliel, his family fed him eva min achai? Ela bikshu, like I explained, bikshu lahachiloi davar gadol. They almost came to give him something to eat, a big avera. Umay what was that big avera? Eva min achai, eva min achai. So therefore, that concludes the Gemara of a person should not give too much fear, put too much fear in his household. You should deal it very calmly when you're dealing with the family members. The Gemara continues, Sholach le Mar Ukva le Rab Lazar. Mar Ukva sent a message to Rab Lazar. Mar Ukva had a problem. What was his problem? B'nei Adam ha'oimdim alai. There are people who are really causing me a lot of problems. Okay, he was the rabbi, maybe Mar Ukva, and they were causing him and mitzayir him and causing him a lot of stress. Uviyodi lemosram lemalchus, and I have the ability to tell the government on them and get them in trouble. So I could be a moiser. So mahu, what's the din? Am I allowed to do that? Am I allowed to be a moiser and masa them out to the government? So Rabbi Lazar answered, sirtit. He wrote it. He scratched out a pasuk, v'kasav lei. There's a pasuk in Tehillim that says, David HaMelech said, Omarti eshma drochai mechatoi bilshoini. I watched my ways from sinning with my tongue. Eshma lefi machsaim. I put a muzzle on my mouth. V'oid rasha lenegdi. While a rasha was standing in front of me. That means, afal pi sharag lenegdi. Even though this rasha is against me, eshma lefi machsaim. I watched my mouth like it had a muzzle on it. In other words, basically, Rabbi Lazar said, no, a yid is not allowed to maser another yid to the government, no matter what. And this is a old tradition for all the yidden, that even if another yid causes you tsaris, you're still not allowed to maser him up to the government. Shalach lei, but then this Bar Ukva sent to Rabbi Lazar, komatzari li tuva. They're causing me so much pain. They're causing me so much tsar and stress. And I can't take it any longer. So Rabbi Lazar, give me some more advice. So Rabbi Lazar advised Bar Ukva savlonut. Be patient. What does this mean? Be quiet to Hashem and hope to Him. Doim Lashem, be quiet to Hashem. And eventually they'll fall corpse by corpse in front of you. And he advised them that doim means when it's red outside. When it's red outside, usually it's in the morning or by dusk. Hashkein ba'arav alei in the Beis Medrash. Go early and stay late in the Beis Medrash at dusk and by sun, before sunrise. The hein kolim me'aleim. And you'll see they'll be destroyed by themselves. So be mispalel in the Beis Medrash or learn in the Beis Medrash, but don't do anything. Adava Yotzav Api Rab Lazar. As soon as Rab Lazar sent this message, the person that was causing Bar Ukva tsar, his name was Geneva. Unasunu leGneva b'koila. They arrested Geneva. The government caught up with this Geneva, and they arrested him and they put him up for on death row, basically. Now another question. Shalach lei Mar Ukva. Now they sent a question to Mar Ukva. Zimra menala da'asa. How do you know that you're not allowed to listen to music? Very interesting. We just how do you know you're not allowed after the Churban Beis Hamikdash? You're not allowed to listen to music. Sirtet v'kasalahu. He scratched out a pasuk and he said, Al tisrach Yisrael el gil Ba'amen. Don't be happy, the Jewish people, and be joyful like the nations of the world, because you don't have a Beis Hamikdash, and therefore the pasuk in Hosea is saying that a Jew cannot be happy like the goyim who have happiness and have music. So the Gemara asked, why didn't Rabbi Ukva use another pasuk? It says in Yeshaya, where it's talking about after the predicting the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, Bashir layishtu yayin yemar sheich l'shoisam. When you're having a song, when you're having music, you shouldn't have wine there. In other words, don't have music when you're having a party. Yemar sheich l'shoisam. After the Beis Hamikdash, beer will taste bitter to those that drink it. So why don't you bring that pasuk? It's clearly talking about after the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash that you're not going to have allowed to have music anymore. Imahu, even if it's from there, Havamina, I would have thought, Hadamil Zimra Damana, I would have thought having music, playing an instrument is usher. Avol the Pume, using your mouth, shari, it's permitted. So the Gemara's conclusion is that all types of music are usher. So again, if you take the strict opinion of the Gemara, one would not be allowed to listen to music at any time. Of course, these halachas have been relaxed. You have to iron the current the contemporary poskim. Amalei Rav Huna bar Rav Nosson Rav Ashi. Rav Huna Rav Nosson to Rav Ashi. My diksiv. What is the meaning of this pasuk? Yeshua lists off names of cities. Kina v'Demoina v'Ad. It's part of the southern border of Yehuda. So these are names of the cities that Yehuda inherited as their part of Eretz Yisrael. So the question is, what does it mean what's the name? What is the meaning of these names of the city? Amalei. So Rav Ashi answered, what's your question? Misvasa de Eretz Yisrael kachasher. These are cities in Israel. So they're names of cities. Kina, Demona. Demona, I guess, is where the nuclear warheads of Israel is. And Adada. Amalei. So Rav Huna said, I know. I know it's listing off cities in Eretz Yisrael. Amalei. So he said, Ella, Rav Huda bar Nosson explained, Rav Gevia Ma'agiza Amabat Tame. He explained it in a very geschmackte way, that this pasuk is a remez of a moral lesson of life. If a person has a reason to be angry against your friend, and he's quiet and holds himself back, the one that rests in heaven will take the matters on his behalf, and he'll punish the guy. If you hold back and hold your anger and your rage inside, don't worry, God will take care of that person. It's interesting that the nuclear warheads of Israel is in this place called Dimona. And Dimona means silent. You're holding yourself back. You're not going to shoot from the hip. That's called doimin. Amalei, so Rav Ashi asked in the back, Elama'ata, Siklak, Umidmanam Sansana, Hochinami. There's other psukim that say names of cities. How are you going to darshan that pasuk? Amalei, Lihava, Rav Gevia, Mebeageza, Hocha, Hava Batama. He would have explained it. Rav Acha Be'Mechoza, Omabahochi. Rav Acha Be'Mechoza explained it. Called me Shiesh Leitzakas Ligimal Chavera V'Daimim, Sheichem Basnel Isolitin. If anybody has complaints against his friend, that the friend is taking away his parnasa, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he's quiet about it and doesn't do anything, he doesn't cause a fight, Sheichem Besnel Isolitin. God, who rested by the burning bush, he'll take matters and mete out the punishment if the guy steals your parnasa. Amalei Reish Galusa Rav Huna. Klilan Manola the Asa. How do you know? The Reish Galusa asked Rav Huna, how do you know that a chassan is not allowed to wear a crown by his wedding? It was ancient custom to wear a crown by the wedding. A chassan should not wear that. Amalei midrabanan. The Tanan, it's midrabanan. The Tanan, that's what we learned in Masechet Soita. Bapul Mishal Spanios Gozra Alataras Chasanim Bala Iris. When Aspanionis with his army came on Yerushalayim, they made a gzera that Chasanim should not wear the crown. Ad Hochi, and they shouldn't have a bell banging by making noise by the wedding. Ad Hochi come Rav Huna lafduya. Rav Huna got up and went to the bathroom. Amalei Rav Chizda said, Kruksiv. It's not a Mishnah. It's actually a pasuk that you're not allowed to wear. A chassan's not allowed to wear a chassan hat, a crown, because the pasuk says, "Koyam Hashem Elokim Hasim Etznef V'Harma Torah Zois Loy Zois Zois Loy Zois Hashpola Hagbei V'Agvoya Hashpil." So the pasuk talks about in Yecheskel, and it says, "Remove the hat and lift off the crown." The word mitznefes refers to the kohen's hat, and a Torah refers to the crown. This pasuk is actually teaching you as long as you have a crown, as the kohen gadol can wear his hat, a Torah b'rosh kol, then every other person could wear his crown. Nistalka mitznefes b'rosh kohen gadol, but when the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed and the hats of the kohen gadol are off, nistalka Torah b'rosh kol Yisrael adam. All Jews are now allowed to wear a crown, a chassan particularly, on his wedding day is not supposed to wear a crown. Adahachi also Rav Huna. The Rav Chisda said this from a pasuk, and while Rav Huna was in the bathroom, when Rav Huna came back, Ashkichini Daviyasa, he heard them sitting. Amalei. So Rav Huna said, it's not a pasuk. Elikim, I swear to God, midrabanan. It's only also midrabanan, not midivrei navi. El Chisda shmei v'chizdai milach. Your name is Rav Chisda, but your words are words of kindness. Trying to find some source of a pasuk. Okay, that's very nice, but it's not. It's really midrabanan. Ravina Ashkechei Marbar Ravashi Davet Gadol Kalil Breita. Marbar Ravashi was making a crown for his daughter, and Ravina observed him. Amalei, so Ravina said, like Savalam Ma Hasem Etznef V'Harma Torah, that you're not supposed to make. Is there a pasuk that says you're not a girl, somebody who's getting married should not wear any crown? Amalei, so Marbar Ravashi answered, Dubi the Kohen Gadol begarvei al b'nishei loy. That's referring to a man. A chassan is not allowed to wear a crown, but the woman, she's permitted to wear some sort of beautiful ornament on top of her head. That's fine. My zois loy zois, the pasuk that we brought before said this, not this. This, not for this. What does that mean? It's an odd expression in the pasuk. Darsh Rabavira Zimra al Mishmei Ravami v'Zimra al Mishmei Ravasi. Rabavira used to preach the following explanation of Zois Loy Zois. Sometimes he said in the name of Rav Ami or Ravasi. When God said no more crowns anymore, are you doing this to the Jewish people? That they said Nasa v'Nishma, and you're going to destroy their Beis Hamikdash? The Jews did such a special thing by accepting the Torah of Nasa v'Nishma. So God responded to the Malachim and said, Loizois lehen Yisrael, don't the Jews not deserve this? Sheshpila eskevoya, they made the lower higher, the Igbia that was high as the Shafel, they made lower. The Hamidit selling by Hechel by putting a statue in the Hechel. In other words, they brought in Avodah Zarah. And basically the Jews messed up. They're making the unimportant important and the important unimportant. That's called not following the Torah. So therefore, they're worthy of its destruction. And that's how you end that pasuk. Zimra Darsh Rabavira, Vira made another speech. Zimra Amal Shmei Ravamni, Zimra Amal Shmei Ravasi. My diksiv, Koyam Hashem, Im Shleimim v'chein Rabim v'chein Negozi v'Ovar. He's explaining this pasuk in Nocha. He says like this, you learn a moral teaching from this. A very nice moral teaching. Imraya Adam Shemuzaynaisa Mitzunzana. Person sees that he's barely making ends meet. What should you do? It's bothering him. He's under stress. So you're doing something counterintuitive. Yasamem tzedakah. Give off tzedakah. The kolshken kshem merubim. And certainly when you have a lot of money, you should be giving off tzedakah. But even when it's exactly you're making just about ends meet, give off tzedakah. And just by psychologically speaking, it teaches you to think a little bigger. And when you think a little bigger beyond yourself, your mind widens, and therefore you'll be able to be more of a receptacle to get more bracha from Hashem. What does it mean? Anyone who cuts from his possessions, that's goizes, and gives tzedakah, needs some medina shel gehem. He's saved from the punishment of Gehenna, which could be even on this world. Extra stress. Imagine two sheep trying to go through the water. One is sheared from its wool. one is not sheared from its wool. Gezuza avra, the one that's sheared from its wool, will pass through easily. V'she'ena gezuza lo yavra, the one that's not sheared will have a tough time going through the wool because he is carrying so much baggage. We go to Vavam and Beis. So therefore, if you're giving off your money for tzedakah instead of holding on and building more homes that you'll never use, you're by the way, you're doing yourself a favor by saving yourself from Medina Shel Gehenna. V'ini sicha, what is v'ini sicha? Ama marzutra afila arni. We go masparnes when it's tzedakah. Even a poor person that's taking his sustenance from tzedakah, yasa tzedakah, he should also give tzedakah. Loy anech oid. If a poor person gets into the habit of giving tzedakah, he will not be shown any aniyas anymore. He'll find out that he'll become rich. So that's the lesson that you learn from these psukim. The Gemara says, Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, one more piece of Gemara and then we'll stop. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer merekem lemizrach. The Gemara, the Rabbi Yehuda gave off the boundaries of Israel. And he said from the east is Mizrekem, right? And Akkoy is in the north. The Akkoy is just the north part of Israel. So the Gemara says, "Lemember the Akkoy finding the Eretz Yisrael kaima." Are you going to tell me that Akkoy is in the north of Israel? So now, if you look at the picture over here on my screen, so I'm showing you a picture, and what the Gemara understands right now is that the way the Gemara is going to learn a brisa, it says that if someone walks from Akkoy to Kesiv, you're walking towards the north, and to the right of it, which is Mizrach side, this is Chutz La'aretz, and to the left is Marav, which is Eretz Yisrael. That's what the brisa says. So it implies that Akka is not in the north. Akka is actually in the east. That's what we see in this brisa. You told me in the Mishnah that Akka is in the north. Uraminu, I'll ask you a stira. If you're going from Akka to Ksiv, Miminoi on your right side, the Mizrach will be on the Mizrach Haderach on the east side of the road. That has the tumah of the nations. In other words, like if you go into Chutz La'aretz, you become Tamei Meis. Those areas are pata from Meiser and Shemitah because it's not part of Eretz Yisrael, unless you know for sure it's Eretz Yisrael, but most likely it's not. To the right of Akkoy, Mismoile, but the left of Akkoy, Lamarav Aderech Tahirim Mishum Eretz Amim Chayavus Meiser Shvius. That's really Eretz Yisrael. Achi Vadul Chashi Petura. Ad Heicham, until where do you go? Ad Ksiv, until you get to Ksiv, Rabbi Shmuel, but Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Shmuel, Ad Lavlamu. So if you see the picture over here, until you get to Ksiv is really Eretz Yisrael. To the right will be Chutz La'aretz, right? This will be Chutz La'aretz. And to the left will be Eretz Yisrael. But what you do see over here is from this brisa, it implies that Akko is on the east side of Eretz Yisrael. And so therefore, it's on the border of the east. So how could our Mishnah say that Akko is on the west? Rabbi explained. Our Mishnah is talking about Ritzua Nafka, B'yav, Ritzua Nafka. Our Mishnah is talking about, like what you can see, Rashi gives you a picture, but Ritzua Nafka means this picture over here. That Akko is really on the north of Israel. You see, it's on the north. And on the road, what the Brisa means to say is that there's a slip of land that connects Akko to Ksiv, to even more north. And that slip of land, to the right of it, is Chutz La'aretz, right over here is Chutz La'aretz, but this strip of land has a din of Eretz Yisrael. So we're discussing, this brisa just discusses a tiny strip of land that is considered part of Eretz Yisrael, maybe like a couple of feet, but it's a road that connects to Kzev. So the Gemara just asks one final question: Yav Tana Simona Hachi? Does a Tana get involved in discussing a tiny strip of land? Who lives there? And yes. You even see psukim that describe a tiny strip of land. You see that in Tanakh. And here, but basically the pasuk is describing where this place Shiloi is, and it says it's on the east of this tiny strip of road called Mesila. So you see in Tanakh, we reference tiny strips of land. So also in teaching you halacha, yes, we could discuss a tiny strip of land. Is that part of Eretz Yisrael or not? And that could be part of the Mishnayos. So it squares off, everything still makes sense that Akkoy is in the north of Eretz Yisrael. Okay, that's Hashem. Tomorrow we'll continue with Daf Sayed.